Okay, so 98% of musicians won't survive the current financial crisis. At SonX, our mission is to change that. So before we dive in, let's do a few introductions. So on the call as well, we have Lee. He's our founder and CEO. So he was previously the head of talent and creative strategy at Sony Music, and his previous experience to that also encompasses talent management and fashion PR. We have David Zarmawal. He couldn't be on the call, but he's our CFO. SonX is one of a handful of projects he's currently working on, but he wants to be part of the project long term. His previous experience includes time as an associate accountant at PwC and at Orange, and stints as the director of finance at BBC and The Telegraph. Then we have myself, Lewis Donovan, co-founder and CTO. My previous job was lead web developer at Sony Music, where I met Lee. And then previous to that, my experience was a mix of tech, web development, and artist management. So what problem are we trying to solve? The post-digital and post-COVID music industry model has eviscerated all traditional revenue models for musicians. Less than 0.5% of musicians make a living from their music. On average, Spotify pays 0.4 per stream, and record labels typically take 85% of that money. Artists would usually make a lot more money back from touring, but that's becoming increasingly unfeasible. And additionally, venues are taking typically 35% of proceeds from merchandise sales. So this kind of perfect storm has meant that since the end of COVID, the number of tours cancelled is at an all-time high, and it's not just a problem for smaller independent artists. You have artists like Santi Gold, The Animal Collective, Gang of Youths, Justin Bieber, and Stormzy that have all had tours cancelled since the end of COVID. There's also a data problem. So the proliferation of Web2 platforms has reduced the artist's ability to identify their biggest fans. Analytics from social and streaming platforms only show aggregated data. You have sales and CRM data, but typically that's guarded by industry gatekeepers such as record labels, and they will normally demonstrate their value with vanity metrics that aren't really connected to monetized conversion goals. So this approach has meant that there's a bias towards casual fans and away from real kind of dedicated fans. And that's important because 40% of music consumers that are fans account for 75% of all music spending. Our solution is SonX. It's a mobile app that allows artists to identify, monetize, and reward their superfans via community, content, and commerce tools. Artists can build a community of superfans paywalled by low-cost monthly subscriptions. They can post exclusive live and on-demand content just for their superfans. They don't have to fight against algorithms to gain visibility. They own the relationships, and fans see everything that an artist shares with their community. They can further monetize with exclusive limited edition merchandise and fan-only ticketing. The paywall also prevents bots and scalpers from getting access to drops and ticket on sales. Ticket and merch purchases result in digital collectibles, which I'll get into in a moment. Fans get bragging rights, and artists get actionable data to identify and reward those superfans. All of this is based on existing behaviors. So we know from decades of data that fans will interact with artists, they'll buy tickets, they'll buy merchandise, and they'll participate in fan communities. And we know this because they've done it for years. And this is where other, music Web3 platforms have maybe faltered a bit because they try to invent behaviors that don't already exist. And that's fine if your product is aimed at Web3 natives, but it falls down when you position yourself in front of an audience that may not understand Web3. So SonX is not an overtly Web3 platform. It's very under the hood. We don't use jargon or confusing Web3 language. You don't need a wallet to join. You don't need crypto to join. You don't even need to know what an NFT is. And this is important because our target audience, Gen Z, 81% of them have never bought, sold, or traded an NFT. So in terms of how we do actually use it, we're very dedicated to making the Web3 experience seamless. We see an NFT as a reward and a data opportunity rather than a product that someone would buy. And again, this leads into existing behaviors. So what happens on SonX is users are given an ERC6551 token for each artist community that they join. And that token will evolve based on the unique blend of tokens inside it. So NFTs are rewarded to users as they make purchases and attain community levels within the platform. The tokens that they receive have a dynamic rarity. I'll give you an example. So if I'm an artist and I want to put 100 t-shirts of a certain design on sale, the first person to buy that will get a 1-of-1 token, which is an ERC 721. The next 10 will each get an ERC 1155, which is a 1-of-10. And the next 89 will each get a 1-of-89, which is also an ERC 1155. So what happens is whenever there's a ticket or a piece of merchandise added to the platform, the quantity is taken into account and the optimum rarity distribution is then worked out. So whenever someone purchases, the most rare available is apportioned to them at that point of purchase. So artists can find the quality users based on the tokens that they hold, and they can then inject rewards into those tokens and grant them special access to things. In future, we'll also be allowing users to lend their clout or their community reputation to other users. So, for example, if they get given early access to a ticket but they can't make it to the show, they can lend their bundle to someone else so that they can get that access. We'll also be enabling users to create fan art as intellectual property that artists can use to create merch, with a royalty going to both parties. So how big is the opportunity? The global music industry is expected to grow to $131 billion by 2030, according to a projection from Goldman Sachs. So for our total addressable market, we've taken the total number of paying users on a music streaming service globally. So that's a little over 612 million. Almost all of them are millennial or Gen Z. Typically, superfans make up 21% of an artist's fan base. So for our serviceable available market, it's simply 21% of our TAM, which is 128.6 million. Our serviceable obtainable market will obviously depend on the artists that we're able to attract to the platform and the sizes of their fan base. But fortunately for us, 95% of artists with an engaged audience are earning less than $50,000 a year from streaming. So they not only need our service, but they have the fan base to make it work. So how do we make money? We have 3 subscription tiers. There's a freemium tier, which is essentially just previews of the content, and then 2 paid tiers of $1.99 and $3.99 a month. And that's per artist, not for the platform as a whole. All subscription revenue, merch sales, and SonX ticket sales are split 80-20 in favor of the artist. We're also discussing a data partnership with Ticketmaster and Dice that would allow fans to purchase their stock without leaving SonX, and we would make an affiliate commission on those. Are we over time?
Yeah, at this stage. I'll just give you a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to wrap up.
Okay, cool. So just traction, where we're at today. We've got the beta app. We did a closed beta with 4 artists. We have 5,000 users signed up to our pre-launch mailing list. We proved the thesis for all 4 artists in our beta. So the thesis was that artists would make more money with SonX or with less users than they do from their whole fan base on Spotify in the same period. We proved that thesis with all 4 artists. So now we're out of beta. We've had 63 artists sign up since we came out of beta last month. 52 of those are this month, and that's all organic with no paid spend. We have a 37.8% conversion rate and a 33 7-day retention rate. Here's the competitor slide, but I'm very aware that I'm running over time, so maybe we can wrap it up and go to questions there. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll now move on to the time of question and answer. We'll just invite the judges to start asking any questions that they will have.
Yeah, I can then maybe kick it off. It's very interesting. I've been actually talking to a few projects trying to do something very similar. It's really like, your Chili's, which is always addressing like football platforms, but there's other fans, and monetizing like a lot of like collectibles is a big market. But the biggest barrier so far seems to be really getting these good artists. So I would be curious to hear, like you said, you're already working with some artists, if what kind of artists they are, if they're like tier 1 artists like Rihanna or someone like that, or if it's more like a local British band, to get a sense of where you are with the market. In addition to that, it would be interesting to hear if you thought about having like a token model for the business. And the reason why I'm asking is just, generally speaking, a SaaS business is very difficult to scale in crypto because it is still a very small market. And your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I can start with the second question. I know Lee, my co-founder, is on the call, and I'm sure he's itching to answer the artist question as well. But in terms of the token model, we did early on in our inception kind of go down that route. We wrote out the tokenomics and got all of that work done. We made a decision on that actually during the Techstars Accelerator. We made a decision on that we wanted to build ourselves as a platform first, but we do have that work kind of in the bank, and we haven't written it off. It's just kind of parked for now. The reason is that we want to focus on the business before launching a separate economy. We are, however, at the moment partnering with a company called Quest, who are also in our Techstars Accelerator. They're a kind of gamification as a service company, and we're incorporating gamification into the platform, but it will be sort of community points rather than an actual currency.
And just on your first point, hi guys, lovely to meet you. My name's Lee. In terms of artists, so you know, in the presentation that Lewis gave, he spoke about the 98% of artists that aren't making a sustainable revenue. Currently, Spotify has about 11 million artists on the platform, and about 1,000 of those artists are making £1 million per year, and about 10,000 of them are making $50,000 per year. For us, I think it's really important to show that, number one, as we have through our thesis, that you do not need vanity metrics to make sustainable revenue. In fact, if you engage with a smaller group of fans, you can do that. But I think the other thing is working out the reasons why the 1% would want to join the platform. So Rihanna doesn't need sustainable income from SonX, right? What she will want is community. All of those artists that I've spoken to, the great thing about having worked at Sony Music is that we've been able to have discussions with artists about why they don't use their own social media. And a lot of the time it's because they feel like it's a negative space. It's not, they can't really figure out who the true fans are. If they want to give tickets away for free, they can't. I was speaking to somebody yesterday who was saying that Ed Sheeran has about 20 million fans, or obviously a lot more than that. But the record label only has about 20,000 emails of who those fans actually are. And so for us, it's about knowing for each tier what is going to be the thing that drives them to use a platform like this, and making sure the platform can execute that. And I think another good example is SoundCloud. SoundCloud had thousands of users on the platform, artists of probably the sort of the bottom level before Drake decided to use it. Once Drake joined on the platform, it was an amazing marketing tool, but guess what? They already had a business. So it just propelled that business. When you have platforms like OneOf that have done collaborations with Doja Cat and Jay-Z, and then Doja Cat and Jay-Z don't use it ever again, they have no business. So for us, I think it's really important to establish our users and then go to the 1% once there's a platform there and tools that they can use and go, okay, cool, you're an amazing marketing opportunity for us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, one second. One question.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Vishal. So I would ask, like, how would you convince the listeners to onboard on your platform? Like, I see on your pitch deck that it says like built-in rewards. What rewards do we offer to the listeners? Like, what are the perks they get that they pay on the SonX crew like that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What are the rewards? Was that?
Yeah. What are the benefits for the listeners? I guess it's more beneficial for the artist, right? I would like to come on.
So we do suggest rewards that the artists can inject into the NFTs that the users get. Obviously, like innate in the platform is a closer relationship with the artist, so they're going to be posting content and live experiences there that they're not posting anywhere else, and also early access to tickets that that they're not posting anywhere else or before anywhere else. So you get that kind of early access and closer access. But the rewards that are injected into the NFTs that the users hold, it's up to the artist. We do provide, the artist with suggestions for that. It can be anything from something light touch to a discount in the merch store, all the way up to a physical meet and greet before a show or at some event that they're doing, some private event, and anything in between. We do, as I say, we do provide suggestions to the artists for that. We also assist with featured artists. We also assist with the creation of certain events. During our beta, we did a coffee morning for one of the artists and brought people from their SonX community to that event. In future, we are, at the moment, we're writing an artist playbook that's really going to kind of nail all of this stuff down, and we're going to make that available to every artist on the platform so that they can get a better idea. And we're also looking into building a feature called Manager in Your Pocket, which is a kind of an AI feature that will actually actively reach out to the artists and suggest not only users, but also rewards to give them based on their behaviors on the platform.
The final thing is that there's also a reward on us verifying who you are as a fan. What I mean by that is, currently, if you are a fan of Drake and you became a fan of Drake 10 years ago or whenever he came out, and you were the first 1,000 fans that were supporting Drake, there's no way of showing that. There's no way of Drake actually knowing that. So there's a reward in being able to go and actually verify that actually I was one of the first 10,000 fans. I was one of the first fans to buy his first ever merch drop. At the moment, all of those things either exist in a drawer or there's just nowhere on the internet to actually prove that. So there is actually a reward in just being able to be rewarded by us in terms of some of the actions that you've made as a fan?